Hello, everybody. How are you? It's so lovely. Thank you for coming along tonight. It's great to have you here. We're going to talk tonight about self-talk, happy talk, the importance of how we speak to ourselves. Oh goodness, that's a nest of vipers, isn't it? It's so important how we speak to ourselves, and it makes such a difference to our lives, to the quality of our lives, but also to what we actually achieve in our lives. It's absolutely unbelievable. Um, Happy talk doesn't always come easily, um, and it can it can take us to very weird places. I was just thinking about something that happened the other day. I have my Fringe show coming up for the Adelaide Fringe. It's called the Joy Protocol, and I looked up to see how ticket sales were going, and I saw there were two comp ticket requests from a journalist to do a review, and I thought, oh, who's this? And I looked at the name, didn't know who this person was, didn't recognise the name at all. So I googled her, and it turned out that she is some kind of famous journalist in the UK. And I thought, oh my goodness. And I started to get a wee bit worried. That's a bit high powered for me. And then I started looking at where she used to work, and one of the places was one of the big TV stations in the UK. And I'm thinking, oh, right, now one of the songs that I sing during the show is about Top Gear. It's called the Top Gear Widow song because my husband loves Top Gear. And I thought, oh my goodness, what if I sing that? And what if I'm saying something in the words that we don't like? And then that means that, oh no, and I might get sued. And hang on a minute. So I'd gone from thinking about, oh, I wonder who's coming to see the show, to thinking that I might get sued within a couple of minutes before I became aware of the train of thought and stopped myself. So yeah, please be aware. It happens to the best of us, even when we're usually aware of the kind of self-talk that we go through. But that's just one example of the self-talk that goes on with me. And like somebody described it, I thought it was very apt. That some of us have a brain like um, a, a computer screen where every web browser tab is open. And yes, most of us do have constant mental chatter. We talk to ourselves all day long. But far from being crazy, it's actually a really good way to navigate through life, because we're presented with something, we ask ourselves a question, and we provide the answer. If it's if it's resourceful, that's fabulous, and it helps us make good decisions. Oh, good, eh? So if we constantly dwell in negative self-talk, though, it doesn't do us any favours. It's like having a compass that prefers to point south all the time. Every thought will be judged against the criteria of how near or far it is to south. But that means we're not using the full potential of the compass. And if we always come from a point of negativity, then we're undermining ourselves and our own full potential, because we're not open to the full array of answers or solutions that can be presented to us if we can just achieve some balance. This is a great pic just now. It's going around Facebook, and you might have seen it in other formats, but basically it says, if you had a friend who spoke to you in the same way that you sometimes speak to yourself, how long would you allow that person to be your friend? And it's so true. Everything is hiding in plain sight. Everything that we need and everything that we want. And it's just our own prejudices, our own expectations and assumptions that might be actually keeping those things hidden from us. And if we concentrate solely on negative aspects, it does blind us to the totality of the options that we have. The fact is that everybody has a variety of good times, bad times. We have a variety of physical features, a variety of attributes, looks, and everybody's life will have tough times and easy times. But when we come from that place of negativity, we're highlighting the stuff that makes life harder and more difficult. Wouldn't it be easier to just highlight the stuff that makes life easier? And that might not be so easy at first because the self-talk that we have, it doesn't always come just from us. It could be grounded in how others have spoken to us, people who have influence over us, and how we might choose to, if they have influence over us, obviously we're going to listen to what they say, and that could be employers, friends, family, and most of all, parents. And once you get that loop going, once you get that pattern of, oh, I'm too fat, I'm too slow, I'm whatever, it becomes a habit. It becomes a habit to think that way. And then what that does to your brain is it creates neural pathways that get they get strengthened every time you use them. So every time you reinforce that negative thing that other person has told you about yourself, and every time you follow it, and every time you believe it, it strengthens those new neural pathways. And that can be difficult. Um, if you find that negative self-talk comes from parents and family, let's just take a moment here to visualize how would it all have been if all your life you'd been told that you're beautiful, that you're capable, that you're interesting, you're good company, and that you're loved. In what ways would you be different today if you had that legacy? Would you be more confident, more self-loving, happier, contented, peaceful, and kinder, both to yourself and others? Probably. How much less time would you spend beating yourself up? Probably 100% less time. Your quality of life would be so much better. You'd get out your own way and you wouldn't spend so much time thinking about yourself, would you? You wouldn't. It would allow you to concentrate on others, which in turn would label you as kind, considerate, and confident, and people would regard you as that, so you'd regard yourself as that, and so on, this upward spiral. So, it's a good idea to get rid of negative self-talk, yes? I think we can say yes. Unfortunately, as we say, this self-talk that we have is frequently negative. I mean, if it was positive, we wouldn't have to have this webinar. We wouldn't need to be talking about it. But it all seeps into us at some point. Often it's tainted with guilt about our past or anxiety about our future. And this negativity can destroy any seed of hope that we might ever have in striving for our dreams. Now, our actions are inspired by our thoughts. If we can change the way we think, we can begin to take the actions that we need to take. It's human nature to seek personal growth, and whether that's financially, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Practicing positive self-talk can help us set in motion actions that will bring us those greater rewards. So this talking that you do in your own head about yourself and the things that happen, this running commentary in your life, it never stops. It just keeps going, almost for some people 24/7. However, what you can say to yourself, it can have a big effect on the way you feel and in what you can achieve. Your self-talk can actually be like an internal coach rather than a critic. It can encourage you, boost your confidence. It could help you believe in yourself, motivate you to achieve your goals. Or it can be like an internal bully, undermining you, criticizing you, beating you up, and especially beating you up when you're down. Sports psychologists they've long recognized how important it is to have good self-talk to help athletes achieve their potential. Everybody who plays competitive sport or who competes at a serious level, they face adversity, they face struggles and obstacles to success. They have physical pain, poor conditions, strong opponents, they get tired. The only way that they can succeed in facing these difficulties is to have that powerful self-belief and that great determination. Positive self-talk is one tool that athletes use to actually achieve the best in competition. Also, it's not just the stuff that we're currently aware of, is it? No, no, no. This inner voice, this wee voice that nips our head. It also includes our unconscious assumptions and beliefs. So we might not even be aware that we're holding on to them. One way to identify these unconscious beliefs could be looking out for your trigger points or your hot buttons. So if you read something, if you see or hear something, if somebody says something to you, and it provokes a reaction, and you think, where did that come from? Best to stop for a moment, become aware of it, and ask yourself, where did it come from? Why did it make you feel so upset? That can be one way of becoming aware of any unconscious beliefs, prejudices, feelings that we have. I just got a wee drink of water. I'm actually getting a wee bit dry. So, in most people, much of the self-talk is reasonable. People say, "Oh, I better do some preparation for my exam," or "I'm really looking forward to that match," or But some of our self-talk being negative comes out like, "I'm going to fail for sure. I didn't play well in that game. I'm hopeless," and we'll attack ourselves at our perceived weak points. It's almost like we're channeling the negative stuff that others have said, and if we criticise ourselves before others criticise us in some way save us, it's like in comedy, you tell a joke against yourself before somebody else tells a joke against you, and it's a safety thing. And we can come to expect it because one person who was influential in our life, like a parent, has criticised us for something, then they must have been right, and the rest of the world must think the same. Can you actually realise how crazy that sounds when it comes out? I tell you, my mum used to say to me that, and I love my mum. She was a great woman and she did a whole heap of stuff. She used to say to me, though, that she wished I could be more like my sister. Now, at the time I was about 12 and my sister was 26. And she was married and I was in Scotland, she was living here on the other side of the world in Australia. Yeah, I had no idea what she'd been like when she was 12. But I did know that in certain aspects we were like chalk and cheese. She loved numbers and accountancy and all that kind of stuff. And she's always tidy and keeps things really neat and everything in its place. I'm the opposite. I love laughing and reading and singing. And I think to my mum, I was just an unknown quantity. So instead of kind of taking a step back and acknowledging that she'd two daughters who were very different to each other, her way of handling it was by criticising that which was unknown to her. When I was growing up, I was told that I grew up in quite a strict Catholic family, so I was told that I was being bad for wanting to do anything to do with theatre or any of those related areas. And I guess to a certain extent, I internalised that. It didn't change me, and it didn't stop me doing what I wanted to do, but I actually came to accept that then maybe I wasn't such a good person and I would just have to live with it. And that's really sad, until I woke up and actually thought, hang on a minute, no, that's not right. I'm just lucky that I did get the people and the things happen in my life that helped me come to that awareness. See, I find it easier to think well of people and to extend kindness. And where I lived in Glasgow, there was everybody, well, not everybody, but my parents certainly came from a place of fear and scarcity. And they told me that, if I was overly kind to anybody, that I was being stupid and that I would be taken advantage of. Yeah, well, guess what happened? That was my first marriage. But that actually is another story, so let's avoid that. I could go on, but I bet I'm not the only person who had negative self-talk given a kickstart by influential people early on in my life. So I'm going to ask you, take a moment and become aware of where you tend to sabotage yourself through negative head chatter. And ask if you can think of how it started. It probably came from somebody outside. somebody influential in your life. And it probably came at a time when you were relatively powerless in that relationship. Either it was an imbalanced relationship between two adults, or you were a child and it was an adult who was speaking to you, or it could have been anybody. It could have been a person who had religious authority, a person who was your employer, a person who was a teacher, who's really, really influential. But the fact is, self-talk skewed towards the negative is mostly just plain wrong. And the key thing is to look at what is the world telling you. If you are happy and surrounded by beautiful friends, one person telling you that you're, whatever the quality is that they feel that you don't have, look at the evidence. It's probably them that's wrong and not the entire rest of the world. So yeah, negative self-talk is mostly just wrong. You might be experiencing depression, and when that happens, it's likely that you interpret things negatively. And that's why it's useful to keep an eye on the things that you tell yourself and challenge some of the negative aspects of your thinking. You can test, challenge, and change your self-talk. You can change some of the negative aspects of your thinking by challenging the irrational parts and replacing them with more reasonable thoughts. And with practice, you can learn to notice your own negative self-talk as it happens, and then consciously choose to think about the situation in a more realistic and helpful way. So let's look at some strategies about how we can do that. There are so many different tactics and strategies that we can use to change our negative self-talk into happy talk. And what I'm going to give you tonight is by no means exhaustive, but maybe it will help you to get things started. And don't worry about trying to take too many notes. This is being recorded, and I'll be able to give you a link afterwards so that you can go back into it if you want to, for reference sake. All right, another drink of water. Oh, I talked too much. Okay, so first, let's get real. We can feel an awful lot of pressure to, turn that frown upside down, girlfriend, all that kind of thing, and to make things positive, put things in a positive manner, and that's fine if you're being real and if you're being true to yourself. But a lot of times when we say stuff, we don't believe it. Our internal lie detector goes off. You try to force yourself to say positive things to yourself, and you just end up feeling worse because you don't believe this new thing that you're telling yourself. So what I reckon you can do is instead replace that subjective negative thought with a positive factual one. For instance, one of the ones that I've used is, I'm a mum with a fat tummy. I have been ever since I had my baby, well, who's now nearly 20, so he's not a baby anymore. But, I used to look at myself in the mirror and thought, oh, I am so horrible. I am such a fat cow. And that was terrible when I did that. And when I became aware of what I was doing, I'm like, no, I'm not going to say that anymore, because I had to turn it around and start respecting myself and respecting my body for what it did. And now when I look at myself in the mirror and I say, my body got this way bringing me my beautiful son. Now we know that that's factual. We know that it puts me into a state of gratitude, which is so much healthier for us, and it brings me out my head into the real world. So, the next thing, sometimes people have got a thing about feet. They don't like their feet. And when I look at my feet, I think, my God, my feet have carried me for over 50 years. They're bloody awesome. Looks are the last thing I'm after. Do the work? Yeah, that'll do me. All right, next strategy. Ask, what would my best friend say? Now, a quick way to puncture nasty self-talk is to think of somebody you trust. Imagine what he or she would say to you, which is probably, oh, please, was it really that bad? You know, did you really ruin your career in that meeting? Well, yeah, you probably didn't. And the other rule is, if you wouldn't say something to your best friend, don't say it to yourself. You'd never call your friend a total slob for dribbling tomato sauce in her blouse. I know this because I do that very, very often. So I've just started to see it as one of my attractive little quirks. In fact, my husband said that he remembers on our first date that I did dribble and it got caught in my blouse. And I didn't dribble like outside of my mouth, but you know, some food went astray. And yeah, he saw that and he still married me. So there you go. It's not all bad. The third thing, you can give your inner critic a name. You know, because it's a wee voice, isn't it? A wee voice. It seems like it's sitting in your shoulder going nip, 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 nip. So give them a name. Make it a stupid one. Make it a silly name. You know, humour helps diminish the power that anything has over us. Brene Brown, who a lot of people really love, she calls hers the gremlin. Other people call it the perfectionist, and some people even call it the nag. But naming it something really stupid adds a bit of levity, and that helps break through that emotional hold that anxiety has on you. And then over time, this short circuit, the whole anxious cycle, it creates those new neural pathways, and it takes the power away. So even if the voice is still going, you can go, oh, shut up. When we're doing our training at the Coaching Institute, we call it the mini-me. And yeah, so of course you start thinking about Austin Powers and you can't take anything seriously after that. Next strategy, give your rants a name too. So, you know when you get into these tirades on yourself, and they're stories that get repeated and repeated and repeated. Like there's a I don't get enough done story. You know, I never do this. I never get things finished. Blah blah blah. Or all my friends are better than me. I can never live up to them. Why did they like me? These are the kind of stories that we repeat to ourselves again and again. Instead of feeling like that is some kind of valid feedback, it actually highlights how consistent the stories are. And we have pretty much the same thoughts today that we had yesterday, which should clue us into the fact that they're habits, not necessarily truths. The next strategy is get it out in the open. Again, Brene Brown, she says shame only works if we keep it a secret. And she says that if she gets the car after a party and she thought she'd said something stupid, she picks up the phone and says, okay, I am in a total shame downward spiral. Here's what happened. And at that moment, basically what you do is cut shame off at the knees. So find the courage to do that counterintuitive thing and tell somebody what happened. Phone a friend, literally. Because what happens is if you can relate that stupid thing you did to a friend, you'll both end up laughing. And again, humour takes the power away and gets you out of that negative loop. The next strategy, embrace your imperfections. Now, it's enormously freeing, as well as being a huge stress reducer, to stop holding yourself to insanely high standards. Again, Brene Brown, she says, perfectionism is so destructive. I've interviewed CEOs and award-winning athletes. Not once in 12 years did I ever hear somebody say, I achieved everything I have because I am a perfectionist. She says, I've never heard that. Instead, what she hears is they say they credit their success to a willingness to mess up and move on. And again, that is such a huge learning thing. If you get everything right first time, you will never learn anything. So again, with the school that I study at, we are encouraged to mess up big time and often, because every time you make a mistake, you've actually learned something. Make another mistake, make another. You not only make progress, but you actually learn stuff. It is a gift to be imperfect. What else have we got? We've got more strategies. Be aware of that negative chatter. It's hard to make a change to positive thinking without being acutely intimate with the thoughts that run through your mind. You know, I've discovered deep, buried emotions from negative thoughts that I've had for fewer than 10 minutes. But without awareness, I would have carried the hurt and the anger on into the future. But awareness helps me to bring them out into the open, and then you can deal with them. You know, in NLP, the first sign that healing is happening is awareness. And even my NLP teacher, Alice, says as soon as you get to awareness, the healing has begun. And you really need to do much more. Now, undoubtedly, it will not be easy to make that switch if you've got a long history of negative self-talk. You know, your talk became negative over the years due to the various factors that we've spoken about. Your first grade teacher repeatedly told you that you were stupid. You might believe it to be the case. You'd find that your inner chatter would often be filled with talk of, I'm slow, it's so hard to learn things. Then if you constantly tell yourself these negative stories, your actions are going to reflect your low self-esteem. Actions follow thought. A common negative talk involves telling yourself, I can't. When you say to yourself, I can't, or it's too difficult, you create resistance. Having such a mental block will prevent you from achieving a task that you could otherwise succeed at. So anytime you find yourself saying, I can't, turn it around and challenge your own claim with, why can't I? Now, research shows that most geniuses became the people they are also because of the hard work they put in. So if you'd like to be successful, you need to start saying, I can, a lot, and I will. A great method that I've also found useful is to say, cancel every time I find myself saying something negative, whether in the mind or verbally. The method works if you sincerely have the intent of becoming a positive thinker. Just as soon as it's coming up, cancel, and that's your break state, and then you can move on from there. Positive affirmations. Now, affirmations are positive statements of a desired goal or outcome, and they're usually short, believable, and focused. Now, by repeating them over and over again, you build inroads into your subconscious mind, you create new neural pathways, and you open up the possibility of new states of thought. Now, it's really important that when you repeat the affirmations is that you need to read your affirmations aloud and with feeling. So, because when you say them, you also hear them, and if you pour emotion into it, then that really, it builds the intensity and the power. You know, it's significant that your subconscious mind takes any orders given in complete faith and after repeated self-talk. So the daily practice of repeating affirmations is really, really important. I know people like Louise Hay, she recommends printing out your affirmations on little laminated cards and putting them up with what's called blue tack or something like that in the shower. So you see them in the shower. She sticks them next to her screen on her computer, and she does a lot of stuff called mirror work, where she keeps a mirror next to her computer, and it seems weird, but she's done it for years and she swears by it, and she looks in the mirror and if the phone goes, she'll look in the mirror and say, this is going to be a wonderful conversation before she picks the phone up. She at the I Can Do It conference in 2012, she demonstrated how much her mirror work was important to her by producing a mirror from her bra, and she actually produces a lot of stuff from her bra. She keeps a lot of stuff in there. I tell you what, nobody needs shopping bags if you can put that much stuff in your bra. But I don't think Woolworths would like being presented with a large bra at the checkout. I think that might, not be preferable to the shopping bags. But that's my train of thought, and I'll move on from there. But Louise Hay really encourages people to look in the mirror and tell themselves that they love, I love you, you're great, you can do this, and all that great self-talk. Now, one thing that you can see is how easy it is for your mind to build negative thought upon negative thought. So The chatter not only doesn't stop, but it actually spins a drama that traps and limits you. It's like I was saying at the beginning about me thinking and going from saying, oh, here's a journalist coming to the show, and ending up thinking, oh my God, I'm going to get sued and end up in jail. You know, that was just one stupid thought that, raced ahead before I even stopped myself. Now, from now on, regularly do this exercise instead. Instead of spinning that downward spiral story, spin an uplifting story and make it run like a movie script. Visualize it. Build the story with a positive outline. And the longer you can tell this story to yourself, the better. It's also best if you can make the story one about having all your goals achieved. And when you do this, you start to internalize your goals and dreams as if there's something that you've already achieved. And this is actually something I learned from my beautiful friend and fellow comedian Michelle Acorn, who's in New Zealand. And one day I was having a bit of a low day quite a few years ago. And she said to me, Maggie, what you've got to do is you have got to create the movie of your life and place yourself in it as the star and write the script as you go along. And I've used that so many times, both in kind of longer term stuff and shorter term stuff, down to like, how do I get through today? How do I get through this meeting? It's really, really important, but it's really effective. Next strategy, look at who's around you. It's important that you identify the external negative factors in your life that might be holding your thoughts as hostages. For instance, your mental state can become quite toxic by being around friends who are negative. If you're not vigilant enough, you'll start to adopt their thoughts and their thought patterns as your own. So be alert to what your negative influences are. If they come from friends, or certain friends, limit your exposure to them as much as you can. In fact, drop them if you can. Don't discuss your plans with people who won't support your dreams and goals, because all they'll do is visit their negativity upon it and you will feel crushed. And instead, surround yourself with thoughts and actions and people who empower you and support you. Because from being uninspired and demotivated, you'll begin to feel uplifted and driven to greater self-growth if you surround yourself with the right people and circumstances. The positive energy that they vibrate will start to affect the self-talk that you engage in as well. Present tense messages. Now, you might find yourself daunted by the whole load of things that you need to do in order to reach your goals, and sometimes it is really overwhelming. You think, I want to do this, but I don't think I can do it because it's just so much stuff to do. And then your mind starts to get caught up in that endless stream of worry. And what might be helpful is to concentrate on the steps that you can take in the present, the steps that you can take now. If you find yourself becoming stuck and that overwhelm starting to happen, stop and say, what can I do right now? And that could be something even as simple as getting away from whatever it is that's making you feel like that and go and walk into another room. Go and get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. Go and get some fresh air, anything. And then start to think of little things that you can do. I can email this person. I can make that phone call. Step by step by step. That's how dreams and goals are reached. Not by huge leaps, but by taking care of the details, and they build up like bricks that become a house and a mansion. You can't control what's going to happen in the future, but you can take all the necessary steps right now that will together build a better tomorrow. Taking the necessary steps that require you to focus on your thoughts and inner talk. If you focus that on the now, the future really does take care of itself. Now the next one, focus on enjoyable moments. It's a whole lot easier to have a positive attitude if you focus on the enjoyable moments in life rather than the difficult ones. It seems so simple, but so many of us, we just don't get it. there will always be challenges in life, and we know that life consists of ups and downs, and the good times are often forged through the bad. So, given that it's going to be 50-50, choose. It's like, don't be a compass that's constantly stuck on south or north or whatever. Choose what's going to be resourceful. Now, you can choose to be entirely negative. You can choose to be entirely positive all the time. That might work for you. Some people might want to punch you if you get annoying. We all know those people who are addicted to joy, are addicted to happy, and uh, they can't have that balance of admitting that some things are tough, but that's okay. We can get through it. I remember doing an Enneagram course, and there's actually a category. I think it's number 6 in the Enneagram, and they're called joyaholics. So, one extreme can be just as bad as the other. You don't want to be Pollyanna, but you want to be realistic. But simply focusing on the enjoyable moments, fill your mind with those positive thoughts and images, make it a conscious habit. Simply, every time your mind goes astray in its thoughts, come back to something enjoyable. For a start, if you can be grateful for what you have right now, your self-talk will also change to be in alignment with a state of joy. And a state of gratitude, as we know, does absolute wonders for your psyche and for your energy. Use goal-directed thinking. Now, just think about it. Is thinking this way helping me to feel good or to achieve my goals? What can I do that will help me solve the problem? Is there something I can learn from this situation to help me do it better next time? It's really taking that pragmatic approach rather than getting subjective and feeling put upon. Question, how is this assisting me? How is this helping me? Now, recognising that your current way of thinking might be self-defeating, for example, it doesn't make you feel good or help you to get what you want, it can sometimes motivate you to look at things from a different perspective. But that's where that trigger point comes in. If you become aware, go back, question it. Tony Robbins, the godfather of personal development, he talks about changing the frame. Change the frame to change your game. So how you look at things determines what you think, feel, and do, and a frame is how you see things. So if something isn't going your way, reframe it. It's like us saying that certain setbacks are actually gifts in disguise because they've shown us something that we hadn't noticed before. They've shown us ways which don't work so that we can find ways which do work. Reframe, change the way you look at things, change the angle of where you're looking at it from, and practice the power of perspective and add new lenses that you can use to see things in a new way. So it's a bit like those graphics you see on the football fields and on the cricket ovals, and they're on the telly, and it looks like this massive ad for whatever bank or something is sponsoring the game, and because from the angle of where the camera is looking, it's absolutely perfect and in proportion and everything. And yet, if you were to move a few feet either way to the right or left, if you were to go further down nearer the oval, the thing actually looks nonsensical. The graphic on the grass it looks skewed and out of sync to the point where if you move your perspective even more, it looks nonsensical. And we can do that with things that happen to us in life. We can reframe it into a positive thing, should we choose, and that way it becomes resourceful for us. Now, the quality of your life is basically the sum total of the quality of your communication with ourselves and with others. So my message to you tonight is please do look at learning more effective self-talk. Don't take the self-talk that's negative that you have right now. Don't take it for granted that it's correct. It's probably not. It's just a habit. You can be your own best friend or your own worst enemy. And my advice is take yourself and go from critic to your own coach. Once you become aware of your inner self-talk, you can change it. That's basically what I've said. Once you change it, it will change you, and you will grow more towards being the person that you truly want to be. Once that happens, all sorts of things will start to be presented to you because your energy will be different. You'll attract different people and you'll attract different opportunities. And it really is about return to innocence. As little children, we don't have this negative self-talk. We are overcome and consumed by curiosity about the world. We don't think about ourselves. That negative self-talk is taught to us by those who have influence over us. Or, if you've made a mistake sometime and learned to be critical of yourself and just kept that and kept it going. The thing is, we're adults now. We're grown up and we are responsible for what we allow to influence us. And guess what? We're allowed to choose what influences us. So please only choose those things that will make your life better. We can return to that innocence and that almost blank slate of the joy of being consumed by curiosity about people in the world is really just a decision away. So my advice to you is enjoy the adventure. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's really great to have you guys come along and listen to me ranting and raving here. I think we probably all do connect with each other on Facebook, but have a look at the Joy Protocol page if that's your thing, where I post stuff about the coaching and training that I do, as well as the show that's coming up at the Fringe, which is called the Joy Protocol. It's on the 2nd, 9th and 16th of March at the Maid. Would love to see you come along. And also launching soon, I'm hoping by the end of this week, is my new website, thejoyprotocol.com.au, which will be coming then. Guys, thanks so much for your lovely messages. Nikki, thank you so much. I saw your big yes! Exclamation mark earlier on, and thanks for your lovely words on the webinar. And Pip, thank you so much as well. It's lovely to connect with you guys again. Met these two lovely ladies at a presentation that I did a couple of weeks ago, and they are also colleagues who are coaches, and it's just fabulous to have to be involved in an industry where we share, and I feel very, very grateful to have everybody who's here, and Katie's here as well, and yeah. So thanks to everybody, and let me see. I can learn to work with. Yeah. Thank you everybody for coming along, and that's us for this tonight. And I'll see you next month with the next webinar, which I think is going to be Happy Feet. Not Happy Talk, but Happy Feet. So I'll see you then. Have a great night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.